Okay, abuzoba makwa abashonko so edeba POG Media so. Abuzuan yembonra eye nsemu. After say electoral commission edeba say eye Ablekuma North constituency. Eche say rerun no ebekoso no. Abuzuan NPP amanyoko no ese omonti ase ne enti ase kira. Nti no eno eche say yede ato ye screen enche no. Eye NPP candidate ayefe no ekwia every year. Or say Ablekuma North we won't accept rerun of election. Enti no abusia akua free year or say ono no onti ase ne enti ase china. Sesen enti ena say electoral commission rerun of election. And also call NPP minority hono so a we nye candidate no kra NPP minority no omonso kire say NPP rejects EC's decision to rerun Ablekuma North polls. And also na yede ato ye screen no enchen ede amamunti ni mienu ene ya separate na yede ato enchen ede amamunti no NPP air fight back electoral commission maami J Mensa enye asem keto akra mom yenko na yenko nkotie ensem bi nso a ekoso ewo political highway ne so madam ase
has been on our radar here on your election command center for quite a while. This is the only constituency with no representation in this 9th parliament. They don't have an MP. Battle lines drawn now as the NPP and the NDC begin campaign in 19 polling stations in a bid to win the Ablekuma North seat. We'll tell you why. This is as a result of the earlier communication today from the Electoral Commission. The opposition NPP and the governing NDC are lacing their boots to battle it out in 19 polling stations as they seek to grab the Ablekuma North seat. And many who say that in terms of power dynamics and representation in this 9th parliament, it's not going to make much of a difference because the NDC still has super majority. But then again, there remains only this outstanding seat from the last year's elections, parliamentary elections in Ablekuma North constituency. The AC has finally decided to rerun the elections in these polling stations, 19 of them, in a bid to get some closure to this Ablekuma North debacle. More on this, but I'm going to do a quick walkthrough and a recall of exactly how things have played out over the period. Because the Electoral Commission had been consistent. Just about 2 weeks ago, Dr. Bosman Asare was in Parliament. He was asked whether a rerun was an option on the table. He ruled out this option of a rerun. So it begs the question as to what exactly the Electoral Commission took into consideration in now deciding that 19 polling stations would have a rerun of the elections. But there was actually a declaration of a winner in this Ablekuma North constituency on the 9th of December 2024. But the Electoral Commission said that declaration was done under duress. This was a Rabina Obin who was declared a winner at the time. Take a look at this.
In polling stations and NPP had 27,170. NPP had 28,151. On that note, I declare Eura Abna as the MP selected.
So there was this declaration, but the Electoral Commission 2 days later addressed the press, indicated that that declaration you just saw was done under duress, and that their officer there, the returning officer at the constituency, was forced to declare the NDC candidate there, Rabina Obin, as the MP-elect. So they annulled this declaration. And then Naneke Frios, the NPP candidate, has been on the heels as well, the former member of parliament for that matter. And it's one thing that we've been looking at how things have evolved over time. But let's chronicle the specific instances in this Ablekuma North constituency debacle. Joseph Akable, so legal affairs correspondent, has been looking into it quite closely. Joseph, it's good to have you, as always.
Always good to be here.
This matter found its way into court, is it not?
Yes.
Let's backtrack a bit.
I mean, so we all know that first and foremost, the election took place on December 7th, like many other parts of the country as well. The only difference being that after the close of polls, there was no winner that had been declared. In fact, if we move a bit further on, quite shortly, we are going to show you how things have panned out by way of that particular process. But in terms of after the election took place, there was no winner in that particular area, like I did indicate. Shortly afterwards, the decision was taken by the Electoral Commission in terms of who to declare as the winner. So initially on December 10, they declared Rabra Obing as the winner of that particular election, the NDC's candidate. And you saw that on your screen with that declaration taking place now. Now, we know that on 20th December 2024, the EC nullified the results of the Ablekuma North election. The explanation the commission gave was to the effect that the officer, like you said, declared it under duress. And so for that reason, they decided that they were not satisfied with the results. They again made a point that they didn't think that the declaration was done with the full complement of the sheets that they needed to do that particular declaration. It's one that generated a lot of discussions, both on the side of the NPP and the NDC, both claiming that, well, as far as their own coalition is concerned, they had won that particular constituency. And so that became a heated dispute with the EC setting aside the declaration that had taken place. The question that remained was that, what would the EC do next? Will they try to collate the outstanding ones, the disputed ones, which it says that it was not part of the coalition, or will it do without it? And that is what became a heated issue. And the matter eventually ended up in court. So the constituency dispute litigated at the High Court and the Supreme Court as well. And we know that in terms of what transpired in these various places where this particular matter came up for discussions quite closely. First, at the High Court, there was a bit of a mandamus application. The question being asked was that the AC was under a legal duty to perform a function, and so they should be required to perform that particular function. Eventually, the High Court ordered the AC to complete the collation on January 4, 2025. And in line with that, the EC had attempted. In fact, it was one of 9 constituencies. So they started collating for the other constituencies. And even before they could get there and conclude that, an aspect of the matter went over to the Supreme Court, questions being raised about whether the NDC was given a fair hearing or they were given an opportunity to be heard at the High Court. Eventually, the Supreme Court agreed with them on that level and said that, look, it was wrong that they proceeded without giving the NDC a hearing. And so that some of those declarations were set aside by the Supreme Court, meaning that the matter would now have to go back for the EC, back to the High Court, in fact, for the arguments to take place. Then afterwards, the issues raised again about the EC now going ahead after the High Court also giving the green light for the coalition to take place. So post January 4, 2025, multiple coalition attempts have taken place, but the EC have simply been unable to declare a winner.
And this is as a result of the chaotic scenes that characterize this attempt to recollect the results at this polling station. One of the major contentions of the NDC was that the Electoral Commission was relying on scanned pink sheets to collate in some 62 constituencies, that's polling stations where the violence took place and all of these pink sheets destroyed. Let's take a look at some of the chaotic scenes that characterize the previous attempts by the Electoral Commission to recollect some of the polling station results in Ablekuma North. Take a look.
Come and see this signature and this signature. Come and see this signature and this signature. Please. We will authenticate the signature. Media, come and look at the signature. Media. Look at the signature.
Some of them screenshots, you know, pictures of the pictures. Yes, some, you can have about 7 leaflets. No, you can just take one. As a presiding officer, you can keep one. So we have the original and then the carbonized copies.
And that the chaos never really ended. And that's why the Electoral Commission was never able to conclude that process of recollation in the Ablekuma North constituency. The last time we heard the Electoral Commission, they indicated they were waiting for some protection.
Yes.
But from the Ghana Police Service, the minority in Parliament also petitioned the IGP. And then the Deputy EC Chair was in Parliament, indicated that they're waiting for a roadmap. From the Ghana Police Service.
In fact,
to provide for protection for them.
In fact, he had made a point that they've not completed their work, and until they complete their work, they cannot decide whether or not to not declare or to rerun or not to do anything. So at that point, it appeared that there was not a clarity on what to do now. But we are learning a bit more from their statements today. They made a point that when they had a meeting with the NDC and the NPP, the NDC took the view that it should be rerun in 37 of the polling stations because the AC had relied on scanned copies from the NPP to declare. But the NPP are taking the view that there were only 3 outstanding, which should be declared, and afterwards the results should be announced. So the 3 should be collated and the results announced. And so it was a disagreement between 3 and 37. But the EC says that after deliberation with the parties, they've decided to go ahead and now do it in terms of they were running 19 of those particular.
In the month of July, we saw some movements at the pumps, and this is it. My colleague Nanaya visited some of the major oil marketing companies here in Accra. We've seen a reduction in the price of petrol and then an increase in the price of diesel. That's what Goil, for instance, there's been a drop in the price of petrol from the initial 12 cedis 38 pesos to 12 cedis 7 pesos. And then we've seen that same margin of reduction amongst the Total Energies we saw as well, almost the same margin of about 31 pesos reduction. And fuel, that's the petrol, saw a 31% reduction. But diesel saw a just about 31 to 32% increase in price at the pumps. So whereas petrol prices are going down 12 cedis 7 pesos per liter, diesel saw an increase by about the same margin of 31 pesos per liter. So what's happening? That's the fundamental question that we're asking right now. And Dan Karamwa, man who understands how this industry works, is the executive secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. Is joining us on Zoom right now. Dan Karamwa, appreciate you as always for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. So we've seen this increase in the price of diesel by the same margin as the decrease in the price of petrol at the pumps. What's going on?
Okay, so some of the oil marketing companies did go down on prices in the second window June. As I mentioned, some had already declined to the 11 Ghana, 10 Ghana, 99 region. For those OMCs, the net effect of having international market prices go up, IMP, petrol did about $46, diesel did about some $97 a metric, LPG saw $36 a metric. If you do these numbers, of course, together with the city's relative stability over the window, then naturally all of them could have gone up. But some were already selling petrol for a bit higher than the market itself dictated. So you would see that the cost of petrol that could have probably even gone up has declined. And then diesel that, of course, went up by as much as $97 a metric, has gone up across board. This is what we call cross pricing. So one product is up, one product is down. But for a majority of the OMCs, as of close of day to day, they've not done anything to prices. And that fits into our earlier demand that this is one of the windows that we would be happy to see them stay prices or give us some stability in prices. Although, like I did mention, international benchmarks had gone up. The Platts pricing formula or trademark had gone up. Fortunately for us, a lot of them seem to be doing quite the inverse, which is to say that they are not increasing and decreasing any of the components. So maybe they will stay prices. But like I indicated earlier, Gold, Total are simply now coming towards where the market, the true numbers of the market really are. They should have gone down the second window June. They didn't. That was also because there were Lacan issues that was giving them some, cost, operational costs or overheads. We understood them, but it looks as though they have used this window to correct whatever pricing inefficiencies that existed within the setup.
I see, but then again, I'm just looking at the Bloomberg terminal right now, and it appears that the fears that we had about the possible impact that this Israel-Iran conflict would have on crude oil prices on the world market has been watered down, is it not? Because we're seeing the crude oil price actually trending downwards from the almost $80 a barrel that we saw a little over 2 weeks ago to now we're looking at some $67.5, $67.05 per barrel on at least the Bloomberg terminal. That's what I'm seeing right now. So that's some good development for the impact it would have on consumer pricing, is it not? Because clearly this crude oil price on the world market being one of the major components of the price determinants on the price build-up, at least on the price reflection at the pumps, it's a good development, isn't it?
So, Alfred, the Iran-Israel feud or tension indeed did have an impact on pricing. Like I mentioned earlier, crude prices did move from the $62 to $78, at some point $81 a barrel. Then the tensions de-escalated, and then the prices have begun cooling off. Now, as is with the crude market, anytime you see crude prices go up, the impact on the cost of finished products, which is petrol, diesel, and kerosene, is normally felt between 5 to 7 days. And so within the window, you saw a situation where crude prices had gone up, Platts prices took time to go up. And that is what I recall mentioning earlier. Petrol did see a surge in price of about $46 a metric ton. Diesel did go up by as much as $97 per ton. And then again, you had LPG also go up by as much as some $36 a ton. So these were real impacts that the Iran-Israeli conflict brought to all of us. But like I indicated, because the conflict has de-escalated at present, there's a cooling effect. And then again, there's also the conversation by the OPEC Plus basket to ramp up numbers or increase their production volumes. Once supply is going above and beyond demand, then prices will definitely slump. And that is what we are seeing. So per this, you are likely to see the second window July, which is about 2 weeks from now, rather bring prices a bit lower. I suspect that is the reason why the Ghana Revenue Authority is also contemplating now reintroducing the 1 Ghana cedi levy that the president had requested to be suspended earlier, so that they can monitor the Iran-Israeli conflict a bit and see how it pans out.
I can appreciate your thoughts on this and the projections as well, how the next president will be like. Duncan Amoah is Executive Secretary of the...
Okay, Abuzuawene and Sama Ekoso, our political highway. So, Ablekuma North constituency, and I see a NPP minority and NPP candidates say Omontiasi and Ntiasi China. Ain't no omo fight, Mammy Jimenez. But I must say, some of Japan Kokotiza and some way at my aha APOG Media. So, but I must say.